Hey folks, and welcome back. So this is kind of just a fun video. I want to show a new toy that I bought, and I've always tried to find ways to make life a little bit easier. And on my ultralight project, and even some of my big radio control airplanes, I mean, some of them have weighed you know, between 55 and 73 pounds is the biggest I've built so far that's flown. Sometimes, you know, picking them up, lifting them up, moving them around is kind of difficult. And on my ultralight, the engine right now is about 65, 70 pounds, which isn't that hard to lift, but it's awkward. So I want to share with you something I got off Amazon, and I think it's slicker than snot. And it's this little hoist that can be 110 pounds lift. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But you can compound it through a 2-to-1 pulley and do 220 pounds of lift. And it's just really, and the crazy thing is it's really cheap, at least, and I know that's a relative word. Before I dive into this too far, I do want to talk about my awesome company I partner with all the time, and it's rtlfasteners.com. They are a huge supporter of mine, and they are just really, really neat. If you need bolts, nuts, lock washers, metric, standard, let's see, blind nuts, servo screws, they've got it. So go to rtlfasteners.com, use a top secret code DA30, and you can get 30% off an order if you spend more than 50 bucks. And just go visit them, and I'm sure you're going to tinker around and find some really cool stuff you want. So back to this little hoist. So I was lifting the motor or the engine on and off of my ultralight. It's a what size is it? 340 cc engine, 65-ish pounds. And it's just awkward because of the way the motor mount and everything is on the engine to get it on and off the airframe. Now that I'm designing the firewall, where my fuel pump will be, my starter solenoid, and the the rectifier that takes AC back to DC off the motor. So as I'm designing that, you know, I have to kind of trial fit things. I have to take the engine on and off, on and off. And I just decided to go search on Amazon, and boom, here's this little guy. Now, I would say 95% of the reviews are awesome, but some of the reviews on this are kind of bizarre because, you know, I kind of come from an industry where we lift things over people's head in the theater industry with rigging and automation and all that stuff. So I know a thing or two about Hoist. And this is, I can't believe that, I mean, this is China for you, okay? They build this for 20 bucks. By the time it's all marked up to us, it's 119. To buy anything US made like this would probably be in that 440 to $500 range. So to me, I don't know how long this is going to last, but it's got a secondary brake. It's got all the little things you want in a hoist. But I just absolutely love this. And the only negative things on Amazon were people that I think we're trying to do things with it that it's really not designed for. And I'll talk in a minute about the cycle time on it. But I want to show you the example of how I rigged this up. So essentially it's on my ceiling of my garage, and it has two brackets on the top that accept an 1.5 inch square tube perfectly. So the hoist won't rotate much on the shaft, but I'm using mine 2-to-1, so the center of gravity is right under the hoist. But it's just really, it's just really slick. So here's some dimensions on it. It's a little bitty guy or gal. If you want it to be just a 1-to-1, you're going to get 220 pounds of capacity. I'm sorry, 120 pounds of capacity. If you do a 2-to-1, you're going to get 220 out of it. 110, 220. Don't know if I said that right. But here are the top little brackets that are really slick, and they fit. I went to Menards and bought the square tube 1.5 inch that had all the holes in it, and I'll show you how I mounted it in a minute. And in this little picture up there, you can see they've got it on unistrut, but the square gives you more side area so it doesn't want to rotate. And here's what mine looks like. But the cool thing is I mounted mine I think that's a 4-foot piece, and I have 2 blocks on the ceiling, to hold it down about 3/4 of an inch, and I can slide this anywhere I want. So I can slide it up out of my way, so it's not in the way of what I'm doing, or I can slide it out past the light and get closer to the middle of my garage. Now, I could have probably done it with an 8-foot piece, but I couldn't find any 8-foot pieces in stock at the time. And with my OCD, I'm not going to go shopping around different stores. I'm just going to make it work. So, yeah. Here's a little bit different angle of it. And here is this picture of it. And what I really thought was cool about this is just it's relatively inexpensive, and I know that the cost of something is relative to what people make and all that. I'm not trying to say that anybody can buy it. I'm trying to be really transparent on my YouTube to say that I understand. You know, there's been times I don't have a dime for the hobby, and there's other times that I've sold one of my planes and I got a boatload of money for the hobby. One thing about this I do want to tell you, they say the duty cycle is 2.5 minutes on, 7.5 minutes off. So one of the reviews I saw on Amazon is where somebody was literally lifting this thing an enormous amount of distance, the full wind of cable on it, and they were getting it hot and it was automatically shutting itself down, which is awesome. You want it to save itself from burning itself up. But if you're just going to lift like 8 or 10 feet or 4 feet like I'm doing, you know, from the floor up to the front of my air bike is only about 3.5 feet. I mean, I did test this. I put 220 pounds on it, believe it or not, and took it all the way from the floor to the ceiling, which was about 9 feet in my garage. It worked fine. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for this little update, everybody. So I just wanted to share this really cool little hoist. Just because some of you are tinkerers like me, or you're makers, or you're builders or designers, and having something that can lift a couple 100 pounds without having to get a friend or ask my wife or daughter to come out and help me, it's really awesome just to have that out in the garage. And I'm going to remount it a couple of times because I am going to use it to you know, just lift different things. Like when I do the CG on my big airplanes that weigh 50 or 60 pounds, instead of me building the contraption with some pulleys, I'm just going to use this to pull up the scale, hang everything under it, get it all done. And yeah, that's it. So really short video here, everybody. Didn't want excuse me, I didn't want to go real long, but this is the coolest little toy I've gotten in a long time. And I'm going to do more videos of the little toys and things that I use, or I call them toys, that help my hobby be a lot easier, because I got a lot of people saying, well, how did you do that? How did you do that? This or that. Sorry, it's late and I'm just babbling right now. So everybody have an awesome evening. Have oh, I always in my videos, take a kid flying. If you're one of those old farts that tell them they're doing everything wrong, you are a poison to the hobby. You are toxic to the hobby. I have been told my whole life most of the things I do won't work, and guess what? I've been lucky or smart or genius, and they've worked. Okay? So don't take away these kids' dreams, their passion. Even if they fail, why do you care? You know, what do you got to show for what you've done? So if you are one of these old timers that are running kids out of the hobby, just go away. Go fly a kite. Rainy nights with electric wire and a key in a jar is kind of cool. So rock on. Have a great day, everybody. Be kind to each other, and take a kid flying, or involve kids in flying. And I'm talking from the age of 2 years old all the way up to 18. Get a 2-year-old on a buddy box and just let them start flipping switches and see what happens to your airplane. Take care, everybody. I'll see you next time. Rock on.